In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on January 4th, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Detroit Pistons versus Cleveland Cavaliers. Detroit Pistons versus Cleveland Cavaliers. This one starts with the injury report, and it leans pretty hard on Detroit. The Pistons are already ruling out Karis LeVert, Jalen Duren, and Tobias Harris, while Cleveland is still monitoring Dean Wade, Sam Merrill, and Jarrett Allen as questionable. So before we even talk about numbers, you are looking at a Detroit team that is thinner in the rotation and a Cavs squad that is not exactly healthy, but at least has some key guys with a chance to go. Detroit felt like it was simmering for a good chunk of the early season. They were sharp, connected, and honestly looked like they had finally figured out how to win consistently, right up until the injuries started stacking. That pileup is a big part of why they have dipped a bit lately, and you can see it in the little things, like defensive rotations arriving half a beat late or the bench struggling to keep leads steady. The bigger picture is wild compared to last year. It almost feels like these two just swapped identities in the East. The Pistons are enjoying their most dominant run since the 2000s, while the Cavaliers are stuck fighting in the play-in range, which nobody really expected a few months ago. If it were not for those two aliens in Oklahoma City and Denver putting up historic seasons, Cade Cunningham would be sitting in real MVP conversations with his 26.6 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 9.7 assists per game. He has grown into a genuine floor general for this group, and opposing point guards are struggling to match that blend of size and quickness at his position. On the other side, Cleveland is trying to convince everyone that it has finally turned the corner. 3 straight wins, all against teams with winning records, sounds impressive on paper and gives them a bit of swagger coming in. The problem, and we have seen this before, is that they string together a few strong games, everyone buys back in, and then the level drops again, and they keep teasing that version of themselves that bullied the conference last season, but it has not stuck for long stretches yet. There is also some recent history here. These teams last met on October 27th, when the Cavaliers ran away with a 116-95 win at home. That kind of loss usually sits in the back of a competitor's mind, even if nobody says it out loud. So you would expect Detroit to show up with a little extra edge on Sunday, especially after a rough patch to close December and start the new year, with just 1 win in 4 games. A chip on the shoulder game is very much in play. Cleveland still feels like the side carrying most of the public pressure. They are at home. They just beat Detroit soundly in the first meeting, and they are finally stacking a few wins. Add in the early tip, which often favors the team that can settle in defensively first, and the Cavs naturally come in as favorites. Here is the thing, though, even with that little winning streak, Cleveland is still underperforming against the number, sitting at a league-worst 13-23 against the spread. You are not exactly building a happy betting portfolio backing them. Detroit has its own issues, but when they have been catching points, they have been a different animal, going 6-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 7 games as underdogs. So while the Pistons are banged up and not in peak form this week, their recent profile when getting points suggests they punch above expectations in this role, and the market's faith in Cleveland has not been rewarded much. As our first pick for this matchup, the Detroit Pistons to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Detroit's offensive numbers tell you a lot about how their games tend to look. The Pistons are putting up 118.9 points per game on 48.2% shooting, while allowing 112.8 points on 44.5% shooting on the other end. They are hitting 35% from 3 and 74.7% at the free throw line, and they grab 46.4 rebounds per contest. So you get a team that scores efficiently, rebounds well enough to keep extra chances alive, and still gives up enough on defense that opponents are not exactly suffering through rock fights. Cleveland's profile is in a similar scoring neighborhood, just with a slightly different texture. The Cavaliers are averaging 119.4 points per game on 46.4% shooting and allowing 116.9 points on 46.3% shooting. They are knocking down 35.1% of their threes and 77.9% of their free throws. On the defensive perimeter, though, they are allowing 37.6% shooting from deep, and they pull in 45.1 rebounds per game. Put that together, and you are looking at two offenses that are more than capable of getting into the high teens or low 100s and 20s on a decent shooting night, and two defenses that live with a fair amount of leakage. Detroit's efficiency, combined with Cleveland's shaky three-point defense, hints at clean looks from beyond the arc for the Pistons, while the Cavs' own scoring average and free throw edge suggests they will keep the scoreboard ticking from their side as well. Both teams rebound well enough that second-chance points are likely, not rare. Even that first meeting, which ended 116-95, landed in a range where one or two small swings in shooting could have pushed the total higher. So with both squads showing strong offensive numbers, generous defensive stats, and solid work on the glass, this shapes up more like a game where scoring flows rather than stalls, even if there are brief cold spells or early morning sluggish stretches. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Indiana Pacers versus Orlando Magic. The Pacers are still missing Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, and Isaiah Jackson, while the Magic have ruled out Moritz Wagner, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs again for this one. So both teams are coming in short-handed, just not in quite the same way. Indiana has not been able to buy a win over its last 11 games, which is rough no matter how you spin it. Given that skid, they might quietly like the idea of facing a Magic team that is also dealing with injuries and some uneven play. There is at least a sense of, if not now, when for them in a matchup like this. These teams just saw each other on Wednesday. Orlando took that one 112-110, with Paolo Banchero hitting the game winner with 7.5 seconds left, which is exactly the kind of finish that sticks in a locker room's memory. It was tight wire to wire, and that late dagger is going to be on the Pacers' minds. Here is the twist, though. The Pacers are described as being as healthy as they have been all season, but it still has not translated into a win. They are just 1-15 straight up on the road and 16-19 against the spread on the season, so trusting them night after night is like trying to balance on thin ice. You can do it for a step or two, but you never feel comfortable. Yes, the Magic have their own issues, especially with those key names out, but they did just beat this same Pacers team on the road a couple of days ago. Now they are back in Orlando, where 11 of their 18 wins have come, and that home comfort matters in a spot like this. They might not be making bettors rich right now, but compared to the Pacers, they at least look functional. So the lean here is pretty straightforward. This is less about some huge belief in Orlando and more about fading an Indiana team that has not earned trust on the road or against the spread. As our first pick for this matchup, the Orlando Magic to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Pacers' scoring profile is pretty clear. They average 110.1 points on 43.5% shooting and allow 119.4 points on 48.4% shooting. From the outside, they hit 33% of their threes and 77% of their free throws. They allow opponents to shoot 34.4% from deep and they grab 43.1 rebounds per game. Those numbers hint at a team that can score a bit, but is often playing from behind defensively and giving up efficient looks. Yet the relatively low field goal percentage on offense and their moderate three-point clip do not exactly scream track meet every night. On the other side, the Magic are averaging 116.8 points on 46.6% shooting while allowing 115.1 points on 47.6%. They shoot 34% from beyond the arc and 78.8% from the line. Defensively, they allow 35.9% from three and pull down 44.8 rebounds per game. Put together, you have two teams that can score, but there are a couple of subtle anchors on the total. Indiana's weaker efficiency from the field, Orlando's ability to match them physically on the glass, and both teams' tendency to allow points without necessarily creating full-blown shootouts every time, all point toward a game that can land below a lofty number. Especially in a rematch spot, after a close, emotional finish, it is common to see a little more defensive focus and a bit less offensive rhythm. So while the raw scoring averages look decent, the combination of percentages, recent form, and injury hits suggests this one can tilt toward a more controlled scoring environment rather than a full-on explosion. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Denver Nuggets versus Brooklyn Nets. The Nuggets have ruled out Nikola Jokic and Cameron Johnson again, with Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon both upgraded to questionable, while the Nets have ruled out Nick Claxton and Haywood Highsmith again. Denver has been wobbling ever since the injuries started stacking up, but there is at least a little light if Gordon or Braun are able to go. With Nikola Jokic and Jonas Valanciunas both on the shelf, the Nuggets are short on size in the paint. Their front court is really thinned out, so Denver could easily struggle to keep the Nets in check inside, especially if Michael Porter Jr. is back. Porter Jr. has missed 2 straight games, and the former Nugget is going to be fully locked in against his old teammates if he suits up. The Nets are prone to turning the ball over, which is usually a gift for aggressive defenses. The problem for Denver is that it does not really hunt those mistakes, sitting just 28th in the league in defensive turnover percentage at 10.9%. So Brooklyn's sloppiness may not be punished as often as you would like if you are backing the Nuggets. Just when it seemed like the Nets were finally turning a small corner and offering some value at the window, they went ahead and dropped 3 straight games, failing to break 100 points in 2 of them. Newsflash, the Nets are not good. However, the Nuggets are missing what feels like half their rotation, and even against a flawed team like Brooklyn, it is tough to feel comfortable laying points with that kind of injury list. There is only so much a group can absorb, and with so many players down, Denver is capable of losing to pretty much anyone right now. Both teams have struggled to defend this season, and when you factor in the Nuggets' health problems, it makes sense to lean away from them and toward the side getting the cushion. So I am willing to take a swing with the Nets and the free points. As our first pick for this matchup, the Brooklyn Nets to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Life goes on for Denver without Nikola Jokic, but also without Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun, Jonas Valanciunas, and potentially even Jamal Murray, who is the latest name on the injury report with an ankle issue. They run into a gritty Nets team here, trying to clean up a stretch that has given them just 1 win in 4 games. Brooklyn's defense has been tough to crack over the last couple of weeks, and with so many important pieces out, the Nuggets can easily run into problems generating enough offense. In the 2 games without their best player, they have managed only 106 and 108 points against Toronto and Cleveland, and that was with Murray available. If he cannot go, it really could turn into a grind for them on that end. I have praised the Nets' defense before, but the last 3 games have shown some slippage, with them giving up 120, 120, and 119 to Golden State, Houston, and Washington. It was always going to be hard to maintain peak intensity defensively over a long stretch, but that effort against Washington was still disappointing. There is a chance things stabilize a bit on Sunday as Michael Porter Jr. supposedly returns to the lineup. The former Nugget has missed the last 2 games but is listed as probable as he gets over an illness. Even so, the Nets do not rely only on defense. They have scored fewer than 100 points in back-to-back games, which tells you they are not exactly lighting it up either. Denver, meanwhile, is scrambling just to find enough healthy bodies. The 5 players listed as out for them combined to average 93.2 points per game, which is a massive scoring hole to patch. On paper, the Nuggets still carry the profile of an elite offense, scoring 124.6 points per 100 possessions, while giving up 117.8 points on the other side, tied for 22nd. In reality, their attack is clearly not the same without Nikola Jokic. They have failed to reach 110 points in both games without him, and that is with some help that might not be available this time. The Nets sit 2nd in the league in 3-point rate at 0.480, but the accuracy has not matched the volume, as their 3-point percentage is poor. Given Denver's injuries, Brooklyn really should be looking to attack the rim more than usual instead of settling. They play at a slow tempo, around 97.5 possessions per 48 minutes. The Nuggets are not exactly racing either, at 99.1 possessions per 48 minutes, tied for 21st. When you combine the slower pace, the pile of missing scores on the Denver side, Brooklyn's recent offensive struggles, and their streaky shooting from deep, it is hard to project a free-flowing, high-scoring shootout. So it makes sense not to expect a big number on the scoreboard here. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. New Orleans Pelicans versus Miami Heat. The Pelicans are still without Herbert Jones, Saddiq Bey, and DeJounte Murray, with Derek Queen and Trey Murphy III both sitting in that questionable bucket. On the other side, the Heat are missing Tyler Herro again, while Pelle Larsson and Jaime Jaquez Jr. are both listed as day-to-day. New Orleans badly needs a win just to slam the brakes on this 6-game skid. The timing is not exactly kind though, since they are running into a Miami side that had been rolling before getting tripped up by the Timberwolves last night. Even so, that context matters a bit less than the overall pattern. The Heat have mostly looked like the steadier outfit lately. Miami is on the second night of a back-to-back, which always raises the usual questions about legs, energy, and rotations. Despite that, they still open as solid home favorites, and it does feel justified when you compare recent form and defensive habits. The Pelicans might get a boost if one or both of Queen and Murphy suit up, and that could nudge the line around a little, but it would not totally flip the story of how these teams have been trending. Here is the thing, New Orleans has looked fragile, especially late in games, while Miami has mostly leaned on structure and poise at home. Even with the fatigue angle in play, the Heat have been the more trustworthy side game to game, especially on their own floor. So rather than overthinking every possible injury swing, it makes sense to back the more reliable group to handle business at home, even if it is not always pretty. As our first pick for this matchup, the Miami Heat to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The New Orleans Pelicans are averaging 115.6 points on 46.1% shooting and allowing 123.1 points on 48.8% shooting. They are hitting 34.1% from 3 and 79% at the free throw line. They allow 35.7% shooting from deep and they pull in 43.4 rebounds per game. That profile hints at a team that can put up numbers but also leaks a lot on the other end. They score efficiently enough, but the defensive side tends to drag them into higher scoring environments, especially when opponents get comfortable from the field. The Miami Heat are averaging 119.2 points on 47% shooting and giving up 117.6 points on 45.2% shooting. They shoot 36.7% from beyond the arc and 78.2% at the stripe. Defensively, they allow 34.5% from 3 and grab 45.4 rebounds per game. So you have two offenses that are more than capable of getting into the mid-1 paired with defenses that do not exactly lock the gym doors. However, the shooting numbers also suggest that neither side is wildly explosive. They are solid, not unstoppable, which leaves room for stretches of slower scoring and more half-court possessions. Factor in the back-to-back for Miami, and there is a decent chance this turns into a slightly more controlled tempo, with the Heat managing the game, using their defense and avoiding a full-on track meet. New Orleans' recent struggles on both ends also make it harder to project them consistently pushing the pace or cashing in every good look. When you stack all that together, the combination of respectable but not blistering efficiency, shaky defense that can still tighten up in spots, and the fatigue element for the home side points more toward a total that can land under a high number rather than blowing past it. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.